everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of the CJ Scott. So glad that you're tuned in. Let me know where you're tuned in from, and if you're here, just post a comment right there in the comment section, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. Have you subscribed to CJ Atemo on YouTube already? If you haven't, head there right now and do that. And I hope you're also following us on CJ Scott on Facebook, CJ Scott, that's on Instagram as well. So I hope that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, following us on every other platform, and engaging with us. Share the stream tonight. It's going to be amazing. I've got a good panel over here. We call it the jury, and we always say that the verdict remains with you, even as we give our thoughts and opinions and we bring perspective to you. Because tonight we'll be talking about managing personal finances. I've got two gentlemen and one lady right over here. Now, normally it's supposed to be the ladies first. I don't know whether to apply the same rule even now, but I've got Millie. Kindly introduce yourself.
All right, thank you so much, CJ, for having me. My name is Millie Money. That's the name I go by. I am a personal finance content creator, and I'm happy to join the show.
All right. When you talk about personal finance content creator, what do you mean? For the benefit of somebody who's out over there and they're wondering, okay, what does that person do?
Okay, so I create YouTube videos.
Okay.
And I create content on Instagram that is just purely about how do you manage your personal finances.
All right.
So when it comes to saving, investing, tracking your spending, budgeting, all that kind of stuff.
You look too young to be doing that.
Well, looks are deceiving. Looks are very deceiving.
and while I was reading your profile, I realized that you've got a certain bias as well for the millennials.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to talk about that.
Okay.
Then I've got the gentleman in the middle, Joshua. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, CJ. It's a pleasure being here.
Okay.
By my name, I'm Joshua Togo. I'm a financial consultant, or sometimes we say management consultant. I run a firm that which deals with all matters strategy, policy development, and dealing with how to ensure organization can streamline their finances. And also on a side hustle, we help people manage their finances.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I saw that you're a retired banker, and you know the word retired, eh? It's a very heavy term.
Yes.
When we think about, at least from the generation I grew up in, when you think about retirement, you're talking about people in their 50s and above.
Correct.
What do you mean retired?
Like when you're setting personal financial goals, some people say I would like to retire early.
Okay.
So for me, I also had a good career in banking and I opted to retire early.
All right.
So that's why I mean I'm retired.
So we don't have to wait until we are old.
You don't have to wait until you're old for you to retire. Yes.
Okay. Then we've got Eric, who wears very many hats. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, CJ.
All right.
Yes.
If you would, the camera right there.
All right. My name is Eric Olweny. I'm a business consultant. I run a royalty consultants firm. We deal with strategy, we deal with business development, and also enterprise development. So I'm also an ex-banker. I worked in the financial sector for 7 years, both banking, microfinance, and insurance.
All right. There was a study that we came across, and they were talking about the unusual money habits of Kenyans. They put up a few. One was unplanned borrowing, e.g. from the Shylocks, Fuliza, Mshwari, all of that. Then they talked about compulsive spending as well. They talked about hoarding and underspending. Lastly, financial incest, which is the unintentional burdening of children by their parents with money-related stress. I want to start with you, Millie. Again,
Okay.
I want to start with you. What is the greatest challenge that we have with the millennials when it comes to managing their finances?
I would think the greatest challenge is the fact that personal finance is not taught anywhere. You'll go through nursery all the way to campus and college, and you will never get educated about personal finance. And then now everything is available to you. Okay. So things are available, loans are available, money is available, but you don't know how to manage it. And that is the biggest problem. There is no education.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do people ever see the need at a young age? Do they ever see the need to plan their finances?
No, unfortunately, I don't think so. Not at a young age.
All right.
They think when you start getting responsibilities, children, a family, is when people are like, hey, what's going on here? Yeah.
Joshua.
The challenge, like we are in a borrowing country. When you see the government if the government is borrowing every day, who are you? Not to borrow. And we have options for borrowing every other time. But to me, borrowing stems from the fact that we are not able to manage what we already have.
Okay.
It's usually like debt is basically you are seeking something that you are not able to afford.
All right.
In simple terms. But as individuals, we also fail to distinguish between what is good debt and what is bad debt.
Okay.
And it's the bad debt that leads us to this topic.
Yeah, because I was about to ask you that when you say, debt is just a symptom of something we can't afford. And I was about to ask that there are people who say, look, not all debt is bad, that there's good debt and bad debt. So there are people who totally have a phobia for anything that is debt because their understanding is that debt is bad.
Correct.
Then there are people who are very driven. They can't stay without borrowing, even if they don't have a need.
Correct. Yes.
Debt addiction.
Yeah, they just want to do that. But Eric, let's get back into the peculiar money spending habits or money habits of Kenyans. And the ones that I have mentioned, like, let me just get back, the unplanned borrowing, which we've talked about already, and then the compulsive spending that we have. We have a generation, we are in a generation that, loves the soft life. And we want things that are glamorous, and it is presented to us every day. Success, whatever looks like success and all of that. Then here I am, and I need to work. But then you're putting me under pressure on social media by your posts. You look like you're doing very well. You're going on holidays. You're doing all of that. Then I'm supposed to save this money. And I feel like you're living the life. How am I supposed to balance between the things that I see and desire and where I am at right now?
All right. I think there's been a lot of pressure among the youth, especially from financial organizations, which put so much pressure on financial empowerment rather than financial literacy. Okay. So they don't teach people what they need the money for. They teach you about the want. Okay. So as we've talked about the Shylocks and the mobile apps, they give us a lot of pressure. In fact, whenever you borrow from one app and they see you paying well, now you start getting more messages from others. borrow. No. So people are getting so much pressure. And you see, it's money that's not planned for. So you need to know the difference between the money that you need and the money that you want. Okay. So the problem here is that you come in where you get, you go to apply a loan from these applications. Then let's say you had a need of 5,000. Then this application will tell you you can qualify up to 50,000. Yeah. So out of your desire to live that life and you can qualify for that money, you will not go for the money you need. You go for the money you want. Right. So you had planned for 5,000, but now the 45,000 that's above the amount that you had borrowed is what now will make you spend at the amount that you didn't want to borrow.
Okay. Yeah. Is it an African thing, Joshua, that, we have to have these emblems, drive a big car, live in a certain kind of a place, have a big home, Are those things also interfering with how we manage our money as well? Because you've been in the city for 10 years. You need to prove to the people that our son or daughter is doing well in the city.
Ideally, human beings are creatures of habit, number one.
Okay.
And then when he talked about needs and wants. There's what you call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
You have to meet the basic needs.
Yes.
I have a house, I'm able to dress.
Right.
The next is what is probably the esteem needs, the love needs, as you go higher, the hierarchy. Yes. So once you accomplish one need, you automatically want to go to the next. And that's why people always say money is never enough.
Yes.
We've seen people, you start earning 10,000 and you feel, if I was earning 50,000, I'll be okay. When you earn 50,000, if I was earning 100,000, I'll be okay. Because immediately your immediate needs are settled. Your body tells you there's something else. Yeah. So depending on the surrounding where you are, that's why you talked of we want to drive big cars. What is driving you to want to drive that? Is it because of other people? Is it because of girlfriends? Is it because of boyfriends? So the surrounding within which we've been raised in will always give you that pressure that you want to do something else that really will not really come to you. And the challenge is, we always say, like, if you fail to plan, you are failing to.
You're planning
to fail, exactly. Right. So if you do not have what is called like a plan, what is your plan? What are your goals? What are your objectives? If within this year, what do I want to achieve? The next year, what do I want to achieve? Then you'll always fall for anything that comes to you.
But that's what, you know, Millie, you were talking about, like when somebody's in their 20s, they've just gotten out of college, school or something, they begin earning money. When you talk to them about planning, they're thinking, that's too serious, man. We're just supposed to live life. Yeah. That's too detailed, that's too structured. They've come out of the structure of school. They just feel like they owe themselves to live. How do you get that conversation with people, even at an early age? Because my thinking and my feeling, and I might be right about it, is that we waste a lot of years in financial indiscipline, probably nearly 10 to 15, before we start thinking of doing the right things. How do we introduce that conversation?
Yeah, so you're right. It's difficult to get young people to be serious when it comes to finances. And, you know, it's evident when you create a channel to talk about personal finance, and if I create a channel about makeup, how those two channels are going to perform is going to be very, very different, yeah?
Right.
It's because we're not ready to consume that kind of detailed information. And what I think is we need to break the taboo where people never talk about money. Yeah? Okay. Our culture is we never talk about money at home. You don't know how much your parents earn. You will never know. All you know is hakuna pesa.
Sometimes they don't even know how much they earn.
Yeah.
They're married for 40 years.
Imagine that. Yeah. So I think the very first step is, can we break the taboo? Can we start talking about money? Because if we do it in our homes, we do it with our teenagers, it becomes easier as you get into your 20s, you get into your first job, to really just be open about it, seek information, get knowledge, and that kind of a thing.
See, Joshua, one of the things that would make me not want to talk to you is if you have perceived me to be this kind of a person, and I need to bring my financial life to you. It's like going to a doctor. I'm going to have to strip naked. Then you'll actually realize that I am not doing as well.
Correct. And financial literacy or getting financial knowledge should be one of the basics. The same way you get, like, probably you have your health check.
Right.
Yeah, because number one, if you're not financially secure, there are also other diseases which will come in for you to, things like high blood pressure, things like diabetes or stress-related diseases, all those. If you're not able to manage the finances, then your health will not be okay. If you're not able to manage finances, your marriage will not be okay. Right. If you're not able to manage finances, you're not going to go to school to grow yourself academically or things like that. So, like she said, these are classes that we need, and they should start from the word go. And the pressures that we put upon ourselves is because of pressures that our previous generations made. Right. In other developed countries, as a father, I'll be investing for my grandchildren. Here, as a father, the first people you're investing for are your parents. You are going back. You get it? And because of lack of these classes, these trainings and classes. So for me, the curriculum development from the basic level should start with personal financial management.
And you know, as you talk about that, because it's such a reality in the African setup, you're still going back to do what your parents didn't do.
Yes.
And then bear the burden of their children as well. Exactly. So you're probably also trying to help your siblings here and there, and then get into their children. Yeah. So nobody actually creates wealth in certain spaces. Correct. How do we deal with that, Eric? How do we deal with this? We want to create wealth, but then there are also these social obligations. And if you don't help out, you're not a good person. How can you be working, earning, and you're not supporting your siblings or whatever? So you never really have money either to save or to invest because all your money is helping the other people. How do we manage that?
I think the first step is to learn about finances. That's where we get it wrong from the word go. We don't understand that whenever you are working for, let me say, for some money, it should have a purpose. Every money should have a budget. Like you don't just wake up one day that somebody needs this. In fact, when you're planning your budget, you should even leave a space for debt, actually. Yes. Yeah. So as you're growing wealth, most people will tell you that they're afraid of borrowing, but not all borrowing is bad. So most people use, in fact, the rich people, they use debt to build their wealth. How do they do this? You'll see that even the people who have money in their accounts, they still go and use credit cards. It's not because they don't have money. It's because they need to earn some level of credit worthiness where they can borrow to build wealth. So once you attain that discipline, and the financial institutions can be able to know that this guy this is how he spends and he pays this early, they give you money to build wealth. So once you have that access to that money, it means you have a chance to borrow, you have a chance to pay, and you have a chance to build wealth in that order.
How do I get to know that this is the kind of debt that will build me and separate it from any other? Because again, there are also people who've borrowed even for business and they crashed. They would tell you, I borrowed 50 million because I had started this business and I put in 50 million and it went down. How do I know that this is the kind of debt that will build me? Then what are the factors that I need to look at even before I decide that I need to borrow and put in money at whatever level?
Okay, so there are many things, but the most important one is to calculate risk. Yeah, any time you're taking debts, you need to ask yourself, what is the risk of this debt? If, say, today something happens like COVID and you're unable to pay, what is the risk? Is the risk you're going to jail if you're dealing with Shylocks? Is the risk you losing your house if that is the collateral that you put? So I think that's the biggest question. What is the risk here before you borrow? And also, you need to ask yourself, because borrowing is not always the answer. You need to ask yourself, okay, what else can I do? Yeah, what else can I do? Must I borrow? If then you must borrow, then calculate the risk.
Okay,
yeah.
But what are the options? Like somebody's thinking, I need to probably raise more money, put into the business. What are the options? And now let me not even talk about big organizations. Let's talk about the people who are, sole proprietors. And he's probably running something that initially he put in 1 million into it, 500,000, 300,000, they put in that. So they're not going to float shares at Tennessee. But they're looking for extra capital, probably for growth and something. What are the options that they have?
For me, I always look like this. First, it stems from the financial goals you have. And secondly, most people look at borrowing in terms of money. But you forget that the money you're getting is supposed to do, it has to end up probably purchase a few assets or pay a few workers or things like that. But they're usually like options. Get it? Like there's debt which is expensive and there's debt you can avoid. And then sometimes, like when you're in a business, you need to understand like what is key in any business, and even for an individual, is something called cash flows or liquidity. How liquid are you at any given point? Some people will borrow, but they don't know where will you be getting the money to pay. It creates a challenge. Some people borrow, but at the wrong time. You get it? You're expecting probably $1 million to come in the next 2 months, but then you want to borrow today instead of being patient. That issue of instant gratification and delayed. People don't want to be that patient. And then sometimes it's not really, you don't have to borrow yet. You can go walk into probably a wholesaler who can give you trade credit, which is interest-free. You get it? So there's so many like brilliant ways in which you just need to talk nicely to people and even utilize, and you avoid getting into debt.
All right. So, coming back into the space of your personal finances, there's always this talk about pay yourself fast. How do we apply that? I'm working, I'm earning 70,000. Most financial advisors will tell you don't let your house, for example, be more than 25% of your income. So if I'm earning, let me put it at 60 so that it's easy to calculate. If I'm earning 60K, then it means I shouldn't have a house beyond 15,000. 15,000 in Nairobi.
It's hard. If I took that, probably, like my rule is usually like 10, 20, 30, 40. 10%, that's your type. It's non-negotiable, but people have different beliefs about it, so we can't go there. Then the 20% should be, you should always learn to save. If you want to grow anywhere you are, the second 20% should go towards your savings. Okay. Yes, so if you're talking about paying myself first, let me secure my future first. Okay. Yes, because we've always had challenges where, as Kenyans, especially within the middle class economy, we are one salary away from brokenness. Yes, you lose your job and you have nothing. Yeah. Then the 30% probably now you can say, this is my household. What goes in within my household? That's my rent, those are my utilities, those are what. And then the final 40%, sit down and see how you can manage your education, probably your use, how you're utilizing this, your parents, they fall within the 40%. Okay. Because whether you like it or not, if you do not save, you will never invest, and it's as simple as that. And you want to get out of poverty, but you're not willing to take the financial discipline to ensure that you get there. So 10, 20, 30%, that's usually my rule. When you add them up, it's 100% of your income.
How easy is it to save, Eric?
Saving is not easy. that is the truth that most people won't tell you. Saving is not easy. It requires discipline. So the moment you discipline yourself and you know what you need and what you need to achieve, that's when now you can know the importance of saving. And I think the way he's saying about looking about the parents and everything, that's now something that we as our generation, now we need to start cutting it off. By now, investing into the future generation, our kids and our grandchildren, the way he said that first.
So what do you mean cutting off? What do you mean cutting off?
Cutting off doesn't really mean you stop supporting them.
Right.
But you look at your finances, see how much you've supported so far, then start reducing it. Start reducing it, but by also helping them by investing their money, or maybe helping them with a business that they can earn from, rather than expecting like a salary every month. You know, some people have made it like a salary. They know at the end of the month, my son is in Nairobi, he'll send me 40K. Yeah. And they know that that's there. I think that's something we need to, it's a behavior that we need to reduce and change. So it's just a matter of discipline. Saving is not easy.
Yes, the key is living within our means.
I'm going to come to Millie about the same. But now that he has talked about the things like investing for your parents, what are some of those things that somebody who is past 50, 60 can do that will not require so much of their energy? Because again, you can easily say, look, mom, dad, here is 500,000. I'm setting up this for you, a business. But this person never ran anything in their life. They worked for a parastatal for 30 years. They've never managed anything. So when you throw them over there, you said, I've set up this for you. They don't have the skill. It runs down. They're helpless. Then you're saying, but I started that for you. Yeah. What are some of those things that we can look at, Joshua? Because I saw that you help people with retirement as well.
No, you know, that's a whole topic of entrepreneurship, which also is very wide. Like, not all of us can be entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that's why I always tell people, like, not all of us can have side hustles. Not all of us have the resilience or the grit to go through that. But ideally, I always say, like, if you are past 50, I don't want to be an ageist here, or past 40. I don't know which is the right age. There's some
Why
things...
is Millie looking at
me? Please don't go into things that you've never dealt with them. Like, for you to run anything that works, it must be something you love. You get it? Yeah. But don't forget about the kind of person you are, because at age 50, 40, 60, you have what is called experience. Probably in the area you used to work. Yeah. You can give, probably you can be a consultant if you want to do that. Like, something that will not require so much capital from your side.
Right.
Yes, there's so many things that you can do. You can give talk shows to schools, you can do. So let's not force our parents to start businesses if they've never been into business. Yeah? And let's not assume that because I gave them money to do this, then they should. Yes. Yeah. And even if they have to do businesses, I'm not saying that those who would actually do that, but they have to have the right guidance.
Right.
Let them attend the financial literacy classes, let them attend entrepreneurship classes, then let them be held on, it should be like a case-by-case basis.
All right.
Because if my mom loves baking cake, I will happily open that business for her.
Yeah. Because
she enjoys doing what she does. Right. So that even if she fails out on the money aspect, but at least her time is also well invested.
Yes. Millie, and we say that it's not easy for people to save. And I want to come back to you with the millennials and the younger people. It's not easy for them to save. Yet it is something that is very key. If we are going to build the generational wealth that Eric is talking about, reinvesting into the future, it's very key. So how do we bring these key lessons to them without them feeling like they're not even enjoying their money? Because for them, I think the key is, I'm working for it, I need to enjoy it. Don't tell me to keep it for 20 years. How do you, when you are bringing up this kind of conversation, how do you balance the two needs? Because both those needs are very valid.
Yeah, that's true. Because life is for the living, basically.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's important to, anytime you find that you cannot save, you cannot pay yourself first, I think it means you're living beyond your means, as Joshua mentioned. So I think it's important for the young people, for the millennials, as I would call them, to just start understanding that, I mean, time does not stop. That old age is coming, and I think sometimes we really just think it's too far away. 60 is so far, but when you really think about it, it's just going to fly like a bird, So I would think when you understand maybe compounding, and you think just putting 1,500 every month from when you're 25 to when you're 60, you're going to have millions for retirement. Right. So I think it's just having that small understanding of, you're not telling someone to put away 30,000 or 10,000. It can be just 500 bob, it can be 1,000 bob. So to just break it down to people, to young people, so that they start preparing for retirement, so that they're not a burden to their children, as we are seeing today with most of our folks.
As we begin to wind up, there's one thing that, and especially in our African setup, we think about nearly everybody while they're working, the middle class, it's really huge over there. Somebody thinks, once I have a home, I am stable. Is that true? So they will get all the money, buy a land somewhere, build this house. Or even they've gotten their retirement money, they'll go and build a home. They feel like, as long as I'm not paying rent, I will be fine. Is that true?
If I can take on that, I think one of the things we need to look at is first you meet the basic needs, which housing is one of them. So that's just a step, It doesn't mean that now when you have a house, that's everything. That is just a step. The moment you live in that house, you need to dress, you need to eat, you need to do other things with the money. But now that's just a step. So once you have the money built, so you need to look at how will I be eating for the next few years? How will I be dressing? How will I dress my kids for the next few years? So it's not about you having a house, that's final. That's just a step to stability.
So if you met me, Joshua, and I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, I've got this 5 million, I'm thinking of buying a plot somewhere with 1 million. 3 million, I build a house. Once I'm settled, I will do this. Would you advise me, get into business, grow your money first, then you can build a house in the future?
For me, what I'd look at is like personal goals are very different. There's someone, once they have settled and they've built that house, that's when they can say, I'm ready to marry. For others, like if I've not reached this and this, one part of their life stops. You get it? So that's why I always say, like, let's start from what are my goals, what are my objectives. Once you've decided that, okay, fine, I have 5 million and I'd rather buy and build, I'll tell you go for it. But I will not advise you to go for a mortgage, whereby, and this is the situation which most people have fallen themselves in. Mortgages are basically very expensive. For me, I will never advise anybody not to go for a mortgage which is more than 10%. In fact, 10% is on the higher side. But ideally, in well-developed economies, mortgages should be 5% and below. Any mortgage other than 10% is on the higher side. Right. And my advice would be pay at least 50% of the upfront costs, such that the remaining 50%, and when you calculate with what you'll be paying after, it becomes as if you're paying rent.
Okay.
Yes. So that's number one. Number two is, if you want to build and you have to do it, it has also happened, like who are the people you're using? Because we've had people crying over, I gave the food this much, this much, this much. So, but eventually, if you sit down and that's what works for you, please go. But someone else will say, take that 5 million, put in a fixed deposit account where I'm earning probably a rate of 8% per annum. Then look at the cost associated. If I was going to build probably in Kitengela, and I look what that house will fetch me in terms of rent compared to what the fixed deposit will give me over 12-month period. You might find even putting the money in the fixed deposit account makes much more sense. And that's why I'm telling people, like, please embrace financial literacy and go the same way you go see a doctor. Please go sit down with a financial specialist. Those people sit down with you and they help you see options. And then eventually you're making an informed decision. Don't just do something because your friends are doing or your brothers are doing.
Okay. Yeah. Millie, there's, there are those who will say that we've got to encourage even the young people to get into things like, agribusiness, certain areas that they don't think look as glamorous as they would want, even real estate. Like moving from the thought of I've got to have land somewhere and build a house to a place where, okay, we will buy probably just an apartment and saving and having that and getting some income for it. Is it too early? Is it how we are wired as Africans that we don't think that is very doable at an early age?
I think it's doable. Everything with planning is doable, in my view. And I do know millennials would rather gear towards owning an apartment than tell them, they go back to the village and build a house, yeah. So I think it's doable. It's about what are your priorities? Yeah, if you feel like you are a city bird and you would rather stay on this side of Nairobi, that's okay. Then plan with that. If you feel like, okay, you know what, at home I have 10 acres in inheritance. How about I build there and do agriculture? Because it's still very, very viable. And it's possible for millennials to do it with the tech that we have now, digital agribusiness. So I would think, just ask yourself, what are you into? What are your priorities? And then you plan accordingly.
All right. As we wind up, a lot of people are just trying to get back. Within the last 1 year, so many people moved out of, for example, Nairobi.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford. Some of the people who looked like they were making money, and their money was either from events, from performances, artists, musicians, all those kind of people, people who were running certain small and medium-sized enterprises just had to leave. They want to make the readjustments as they are coming. What are the things that they need to look at without, and I need to mention this in the question without complicating it. If I used to live in a certain part of town, then life hit me last year, I had to go away. When I'm coming back, I'm still dealing with this thing of should I go back to where I used to be, or how should I start life? Can I start life from the farthest, like Limuru, and look for a simpler house than over there? And people will say, man, Eric is not doing well. Have you seen Josh of late? He's not where he used to be. How should we begin to plan ourselves for those who had to leave the towns, the cities, and all of that, and they want to come back? How should we begin to plan ourselves?
All right. Personally, I'm an event MC. I provide sound and everything. So I think from last year, actually, I've not had any event. So what we're saying is actually true. It hit the creatives very hard. But I think people should avoid living on pressure from the society.
Okay.
If you were to come back, you need to ask yourself, is it worth it?
All right.
If I'm doing events, am I doing it in an office in town? If I can manage it by social media and I live in Limuru or Kikuyu, let me live there. Right. And still run my business. Because things like event, being a DJ, performing artist, you don't need to live in Nairobi for you to perform.
Right.
You can live anywhere.
Right.
As long as you get the shows, they'll call you.
Okay.
It's a one-day affair, you can't perform, then leave.
All right.
Yeah, so don't pressure yourself because people will say, oh, he no longer lives in Nairobi, life has hit him. No.
And they'll say either way. Even if you do well, they still talk.
They still talk.
They still talk. And I always say, like, you're not coming back from nothing.
All right.
You are coming back with experience.
Okay. All right.
Because when you're doing gig events, there are times where your cash flows are too much. You have so much money. So, and that's why, like, when you can't think when you have money. And that's why, like, yes. But when that money comes, when you already have a plan, you're well suited to manage it. That's why you always have a plan.
All right. All right, really.
Yeah. So on the same,
Yes.
okay, I think it's important to just be you. People will always talk.
Right.
Yeah, just forget about people. Just try your best to forget about them. Because there's one question that I got asked in a class that I attended, and they said, if you're to buy the best car, your dream car, that Mercedes, whatever car it is, and nobody would ever know it is yours, would you still buy it? No one will ever know. Nobody will ever see you in it.
Yeah.
No one will ever know you have this car. You know, will you still buy it? Are you buying it because the leather is soft and you love the groove? Or are you buying it so that, yeah, they can be respected, so that people can know?
Yeah.
So that's the question.
Wow. All right. I really, I'm promising you we're going to have a part 2 and maybe a part 3 of this, because I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you have as well. And I need to know what you are taking home with you today, the adjustments that you need to make. Well, we've got to be talking about financial literacy. I think, most of us grew up thinking money is power, it's control. So how do you give somebody control, getting them to know what you earn, what you need to spend, what you want to do. They're telling you what to do with your money. People don't even have that conversation in their marriages. They're thinking like, why should somebody tell me what to do with my money and all of that? And even people who run businesses don't want auditors around them. I don't know what we have with money, but we need to keep the conversations going. So please follow these 2 gentlemen and 1 lady on their social media platforms that are running down here right now. If you need to get more information, you want to get in touch with them, probably I'll just do that in a minute. Social media handles?
At Eric Olweny in all, Twitter account, Facebook and Instagram. All right.
Joshua?
Unfortunately, I'm not a social media person.
But where can somebody reach you?
You can come to www.integratedcapital.com.
www.integrated-capital.com. Okay. And then Millie.
Okay. Mine is YouTube, Millie Money, or social media accounts at _Millie Money. And Millie Money is Millie Pesa. It's not in the mountains. Millie Money, you're going to write it down for them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So please seek help where you need to seek help. Get educated about what you need to do. This may just have been the conversation that you needed to turn things around for you. Till the next time, keep it right here on CJ Scott. We'll see you. And remember to subscribe to CJ Atemo on YouTube and to follow us on all our social media platforms as well.